We're going to start with Tess.
So, when I filled out my graphic organizer, I thought of bullying for my social issue and bystander, and my evidence for that is the last 3 sentences on the back. It says, "It's not enough just to stand and stare. It is only a dream that there'll be no more turning away." And I kind of connected that to a bystander to bullying, because they just kind of stand there and watch the bullying go on. They don't really do anything. They kind of just leave it and let it be. DJ.
Well, I would like to add on to what you said by putting in another quote. Don't accept what's happening. Is just a case of others suffering, or you'll find a way that you're joining in the turning away. That's kind of like saying, don't just watch and not do anything about it, but don't just join in either. Honest.
Well, I agree with DJ said. I think have the same quote. And I think the problem is that people are understanding. They're not don't accept what's happening, but they're not just staying there, not doing anything, and then if you're doing like that and you're turning away, it means that you're not trying. Scared.
What I got from the song was that I kind of thought that the problem in the song was how it says right here. Don't accept what's happening just in case of others suffering, or you'll find that you're joining the turning away. I think that means just any problem in the world kind of thing. Just people need to start standing up for what they believe for instead of just turning away from what's wrong.
Well, I would like to add on to what DJ and Connor said, because I had the same quote as they did, and if you do accept it, you can find yourself being a bully because you were bullied.
Tyler. Well, I have to look back to the page where it says, no more turning away from the weak and the weary, no more turning away from the coolness inside, just a world that we all must share. I thought of that as thinking of things happening right now. I thought of kind of poor people on the side of the road, and how they're weak and they're weary, and most people turn away from them, even in the cities when they're sitting on the side of the road. Most people turn away from them, but some people try to help them. So as it says at the end of my quote, we all must share. We have some people that do, but there's also the coldness inside people who
I would like to build upon what Tyler said. I have the same quote, but I extended mine. It said, "No more turning away from the weak and the weary, no more turning away from the coldness inside. It's just a world that we all must share. It's not enough to just stand and stare. It's only a dream that there will be no more turning away." But when I first thought, it was building upon the bullying, and it's someone else's life and their kind of depression, because it's no more turning away from the coldness inside of their sadness. Because when people think of sadness, they kind of think of the color blue, which is kind of a cold color. So that's kind of what I kind of thought of it.
So I'm going to jump in there because I like how we have different interpretations we've pulled in. I hear a lot about bullying, a lot about poverty. Pruitt's starting to bring up the idea of depression that we kind of see in this song. So I want to look at a certain part of the song. Let's look a little closer into specific lines, specific choices that are made. Look at where it says, it's almost the 4th line, don't accept that what's happening is just a case of others suffering, or you'll find that you're joining in the turning away. I'm looking through the whole poem, and that's the only section that is in quotation marks. And at first I was wondering, well, why put quotation marks there? Why make that choice? Because the writer decided, I'm only going to put quotes around those 4 lines. Why? What are the quotes for? Ethan?
Well,
oh wait, did you already flip your cup? Let's hear from some other voices first. Catherine, thank you.
Well, from going back, I said that was a social issue, and I kind of said that because it kind of explains how people feel and how they kind of take the personal aspect of bullying and stuff. So it's they don't know how to really express the pain, so they kind of just suffer and then it's like they're joining in and like helping out, kind of like bullying others as long, like going along with it, and it's like they're turning away, like they don't want to turn. Alright, hold on. I'm turning away.
And go, I like what you're saying, but why quotation marks around those words? What is the author pointing out? Or why making that choice?
Well,
Think about in our own writing when we use quotation marks, what different reasons there might be for us to include it, especially in a song.
kind of like back up what they're proving, like on the bullying.
So like emphasis?
Yeah.
I agree with Catherine. I think it's like quoted because like that's what Catherine said, like the lesson that like the author's trying to like get to. Yeah, it could be like a social life, like bullying too, like
Well, I kind of believe it's what's being directed to us, the reader, because don't accept that what's happening is just a case of others suffering, other meaning that it's not ours, but it's theirs. Or you'll find that you're joining in, you turn away. The key word is you're being directed as us. Anyone? Chris?
I also think it's what Catherine said because she was saying about how it was social and where it said the whole thing where the quotes are. Basically, it's like showing how like maybe where it says like you're joining in, you're turning away. Like people maybe they like see what's going on but they don't do anything about it.
So the quotes do what?
They're proving a point.
So kind of going back to the idea of emphasizing what the author wants us to see. Okay. Looking further down, there's this word that a lot of people had to look up, and that is shroud. Can anyone tell me what shroud means? Let's start there. What is a shroud? And I had to go back and look it up too, because I was like, I wonder what meaning they're trying to get across there, and casting its shroud over all we have known. Even without looking it up, looking at the context of what's around it, what can we assume shroud is going to be about? We might not have the exact definition, but what might we assume? Pruitt? But with cups unturned here. Looking at what's around that word, and casting its shroud over all we have known. Even before that, light is changing to shadow. What can we assume about a shroud? Tyler C?
Well, it might mean like something bad because like changes to shadow and shadow like is dark stuff which is like bad sort of.
Building on that?
I found a word. Yeah. It means sheet like garment for wrapping a corpse. Or for burial. Anything that conceals. Ropes.
Looking at those two definitions, so something that can be used for burying a body, a dead body, or something that is covering, thank you Sophia for looking that up, or concealing something. What seems to fit best in this line, and casting its shroud? Does it seem like they're talking about something that was used for burial? Does it seem like they're talking about covering something? Looking at that line, light is changing to shadow and casting its shroud over all we have known. What is the purpose of that word? What does it mean there? Claudia.
Maybe over all we uncovered.
Why there? Why does that make sense?
I like it. Why? Because it's like talking about it's a sin that somehow light is changing the shadow and casting its shroud over all we have covered. Like because everyone's doing it, so it's like kind of thing.
So they're covering up. What are people covering up? The fact that they're turning away. So I want to build on that. So my stand.
I would like to build on that, and when it says light is changing to shadow and casting a shroud, it's kind of like saying, light would be happiness, shadow is probably like sad. It's wrapping up the happiness and making it more like sad.
And kind of building on that, kind of goes into the mood of the song too. So what could we say? Sad might be a possibility. What would be the overall mood of this song? What other words kind of help us figure out the mood? So first, what can we say about the mood? Have we all flipped? So we're looking for the mood, the feeling of the song. Aaron?
So before I start with mood, it's the author's songwriter's experience.
You help him out, Matt? What is mood all about?
Like what you're feeling.
So for mood, I kind of feel a bit sad because it's basically talking about the weak and the weary. And the weak and weary is like the homeless and poor people. So sometimes I always feel kind of bad for them if they're just like all like in a gutter, just like asking for money and stuff. So it's just gonna make me feel sad about them.
And what words, going back to the text, what words can pick out that add to that feeling of sadness? So I heard Aaron say weak and weary. What other words help us kind of feel that sadness?
Like weak and weird.
And I think Aaron said weak and weary. So looking for other words here, weak and weary. What else makes us feel sad? What other words bring us that feeling?
Pale and downtrodden.
How come? I think those definitely fit. I'm wondering why. Why do those make me feel sad when I read those words?
Because maybe like it's like bold and it's like something like bad is happening.
We can flip.
Alright, well I like to build this on what he's saying about like what line kind of sticks out and like sadness, depression or something. Well, where it says, it's kind of like the end of like the first page where it says the speechless unit, unite.
With speeches unite?
Yeah. Well, I kind of felt like they don't really have anything to say. They don't know what to say anymore. They're kind of like lost in words. They don't really know how to put things together anymore. It's kind of like they just like gave up in a way.
When I first heard the song, I kind of thought, like, when he was singing it, it kind of seemed different from the lyrics. Because when we first looked at this song, I wrote down that the song kind of sounds like he's careless with the slightest bit of, like, sadness in his voice. But when you read the lyrics, and if you pretend you haven't heard the song, it makes you feel, like, really, like, depressed almost when you just read it.
Why? What words make you feel that way?
The coldness from the coldness inside makes you feel kind of like bad, and driven on by a heart of stone, which kind of means they don't really care of much anymore, and light is changing to shadow, which means like all the happiness is kind of going away in life, so like there's kind of nothing to look forward to. DJ?
Alright, well the line that I picked was no more turning away, and I related that to what it said. It's a sin that somehow light is changing to a shadow, and why they keep saying no more turning away, it keeps bringing back how we do turn away from everybody, how we like turn away from all like the poor, how we turn away from people in need, kids that are being bullied, all that stuff we're turning it away. And when it brings up this, it feels like that we have sinned. It like brings like down our conscience. It's just like that. Tyler.
And to build off DJ, in like what Matt was I guess trying to get to when he said from the pale and downtrodden. Downtrodden means badly treated. So like pale and which probably means like they don't. Well, if we're talking about like the poor people and stuff from their pale, because they don't get enough of what they need, they don't get all their H2O and all their things and vitamins and stuff they need every day. They get badly treated. They get downtrodden.
So I want to jump in because I like all the words you pointed out. I was writing down that you talked about pale and downtrodden, weak and weary, speechless, coldness inside, heart of stone. I love how DJ brought up the idea of turning away being repeated and how that kind of adds to that idea of it being a sin that we've overlooked these people who need help. I'm looking at this song and I'm wondering, is the mood sad the whole time? Or is there a place in this song where there's a shift that happens or a change that happens where it no longer is as sad as maybe it was in the beginning? Aaron, you want to speak to that?
I think the entire poem is sad because at one point he says using the words he found it strange and mesmerized by the as they light the flame filled the wind change on the winds of the night. Kind of sounds like they're kind of happy and they want change, you know, because as they light the flame, you know, they're trying to get strong and be more confident or sanguine.
As like you said, it started off like sad at the beginning, but I thought it became more like hopeful towards like the end. Because throughout the entire song it said no more turning away, but it was left like without punctuation or anything. But the last line is no more turning away with a question mark. So I thought it became more hopeful because like it started talking about all these different points within the song. And as soon as it starts to become more questioning, it seems like everything becomes more uplifting and they're trying to make things feel a little bit better. Saying it's not enough to just stand and stare. And then down to the end.
Well, I agree with Tessa. I think in the beginning, it seemed like when you hear the music, the song, it seems like he's like more sad. And like at the end, I think he's trying to get more people like more confident in like life. As if they're gonna say no more turning away. Like, he's trying to tell them there will be like be no more turning away. That there be no like negative side.
Well, turning to the backside, it says, no more turning away from the weak and the weary, no more turning away. It's kind of saying that you are no longer weak. You can now, you don't have to turn away anymore.
I'd like to build off of what DJ said earlier on how it's like a sin by turning away from these people that are in need. And I'd like to say that the song kind of makes me feel bad. It kind of makes you feel like you have to go do something and you should go do something.
Well, in the poem, I noticed that like at the very beginning it says on the turning away, and then it shifts to saying be turning away, and then towards the end it says no more turning away. I was wondering why it said that.
Well, I like to build up he said on where it says no more turning away from the weak and the weary, no more turning away. Well, I think it means like they're not gonna like give up on what they're doing, and they're like getting courage to do what they're trying to do.
I want to go back to what Ethan said because I love that he asked a question, and I love that I didn't even notice that small detail with the change in the words in front of that phrase, and it comes up again and again. So before we go, if we could end with trying to respond to that question, why do they change the words they put in front of it as you go throughout the poem? What is the point of that? Garrett?
The point of that is, as the song goes along, like, the impression kind of changes. Like, at the end it says, no more turning away kind of thing. like at the beginning saying how all the people are turning away, and at the end it says let's not turn away anymore. Like don't turn away from these people in need.
And we're gonna stop there because I've already gone a little past time. But if we can start to